Oh, totally.
Oh shit. So anyway, already, Johnny and Jimmy, welcome. We've been a little on a little a little off schedule as of recent weeks with the holiday, and we both just had stuff going on in life. And I feel like my work schedule's constantly changing. I'm constantly off a different fucking day, and sometimes, honestly, by the time I get home, we hop on here at 8 o'clock, and I'm like, ugh, let's let's do it a different day. So hopefully here soon, I'll have a schedule figured out where we can do this without too much hassle. But speaking of what can't be done, are you okay, Jim? Frozen there?
Yeah.
He's frozen. There he is. He's back now. Um, what what can't be what can't be ignored at all is this Minecraft sequel, and we won't have to get too deep into it. And if you want me to, I'll kind of set it up here. We discussed a couple of episodes ago your disdain for this movie. The viewing experience was not the best. Do
That
you
was the
think if
worst.
you would have been in a do you think if you would have been in a theater away from kids, maybe in like a bar type of like adult theater setting, it would have been better? Or is this movie just so bad that it doesn't matter how you were viewing it?
Um, I just think for the fact that they cut out twice was just bad. But even if you remove that, um, you know, and look, I don't like being that guy that sounds like an old person, but when you're making TikTok trends out of it and all this other fucking God, I hate TikTok. I just disdain. But no, a movie like this shouldn't be rewarded with the ability to make a sequel. It shouldn't, but yet it was. And now people are going to make the argument of, well, you can't say good because the sales reflect otherwise. Even though I would argue sales do not mean quality. There are movies that did not make it
Yeah,
at the theater
right.
that
No,
have,
sales do not mean quality at all, but what it does mean is success and what the theater is going to want, what the studio is going to
yeah,
want. They are going to want money. And I'm sure it's not going to hurt Jack Black or,
Jason
uh,
Momoa.
right, yeah, Jason Momoa's
No,
pocket at all.
no.
So, well, here's the thing: will you be tuning in to Minecraft 2?
Um, I'm gonna say no, and I'm gonna make sure Richard doesn't ask me to go.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, Minecraft 2. When is it going to come out?
There isn't a release date yet. All that article was that's all that was just announced, that a sequel was just in the
Well,
works. We don't.
good. I'll mark it on the calendar, and I will have to fly out and drive you up there myself. And you and I will share a extra large drink with two straws, and we'll hold hands, and we will watch Minecraft 2.
At that point, you might as well go grab my foot long schlong if we're gonna go that fucking far.
Oh yeah,
Jesus.
I was hoping you were going to put it in the bottom of the popcorn there, pal.
Oh, absolutely. It's what we call a prize inside. It's the closest thing to a cereal box we have.
You have your Enderman in the bag.
Yeah. But no, I saw that and I'm like, yeah, you know what? On the business end, if I could get away with making slop like that for a fuck ton of money, I would too. Too bad I have too much integrity when it comes to art to just make shit like that and kind of just hope on a whim that it makes a fuck ton of money. It's yeah.
Yeah, so it is confirmed. It is 100% confirmed. Minecraft 2 2028 is when it's looking like. So what we'll have to do, okay, not only will that be an election year, but that will also be the year of the biggest box office hit. in decades. Minecraft 2. We shall
Yeah,
see.
I'm over it. I hate it.
2028. I mean, that's a long time. It takes a long time to make these movies now, though, because they all cost millions of dollars.
For one
Everything is
fucking
heavy
movie.
CGI. You need hundreds of staff members on a movie. There's a lot of money that goes into this thing. It's not just the amount of money that the actors are being paid. So you have to think that in order for them to commit what, a $500 million to this movie, they're going to have to know they're going to come out the other side wealthier than they entered. So
Well,
I
most
think the numbers have proven that.
well, yeah. When I always tell people this when it comes to like movies that whatever you get opening weekend, you pretty much cut it in half because theaters get their payout. You pay your actors and actresses. You pay all of your staff around that. So if a movie on its opening weekend makes the same amount as its budget, it's actually still 50% of that because you have to cut that in half. So in order to really get ahead of the curve, you have to generally do 3 to 4 times the amount of that because you don't want to
Yeah,
break even
and
or
the
barely get
budget
over the
was
line.
150 million, and the box office was 722 million. So they most certainly made well above par for this movie.
Yeah, they cleared the threshold by a disgusting amount.
And look, if I always think about this too. There are going to be kids, those kids that wouldn't shut the fuck up in the theater with you. Just realize this, Jimmy. There are those kids in every state in this country that
Oh
were
yeah.
obsessed with Minecraft, that went to see this movie, that will absolutely see Minecraft too. And if those kids have grown up and they've moved on from it, there's going to be babies. Another run of 10-year-olds that are going to be obsessed with Minecraft. They could make a Minecraft 3. We could have we could see a franchise before our eyes here.
I don't want it. I'm gonna veto this right now. I reject this. I don't want it.
No, no,
No,
no Minecraft 3.
no, I don't even want a second one. And you know what? I had a feeling that they were gonna mention they were doing a second one. I just kind of wish it was a little later rather than sooner. But when you make box office figures like that, you might as well flex and be like, "Fuck it." I kind
Well,
of hope this. I hope the second one bombs. I hope it fucking falls off a cliff. I hope. God, man.
but there's a lot of things that are coming up, and especially in 2026, the untitled Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh, the second
Um,
one. Yeah, yeah. Super
yeah,
Mario
the
Bros. 2.
Super
Yeah.
Mario Brothers 2, Shrek 5. A lot of
Uh,
these animated projects are these big movies that are centered for kids,
yeah,
but
but I
most
liked.
certainly have a lot of
Yeah,
adults that are watching them.
yeah, but I did like Super Mario Bros. Movie. I felt that like that movie is a better case of Jack Black playing a character. I felt Jack Black being Bowser. I felt that kind of fit his motif, and having him play that song Peaches in the movie on a piano. I feel like that fits. That's appropriate. But having dance
Right,
numbers and songs in the middle of a fucking Minecraft movie is stupid.
right, and to be very honest with you, yeah, no, I agree. Him playing Bowser, the idea of the movie Bowser's Revenge, which would have been entirely a musical by Jack Black. Those are the instances where his talents really shine through. But yeah, there's never been any indication that Steve or the villagers would just break out into fucking song. But here we are. So I definitely feel that yes, it comes down to the source material for these sorts of things. But again, creative control and creative licensing. It allows you to kind of stretch the truth into whatever you think is going to make a palatable children's movie, which has to involve songs and dancing and fart jokes and all this nonsense, unfortunately. And that's kind of what you get with Minecraft, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, like I said, it's Napoleon Dynamite if it was just Minecraft, and whereas I like Napoleon Dynamite because that's its own thing separately. It works. I would say though that Minecraft to me, despite its disgustingness, I think was like I think is probably going to be the least offensive film that I watched this year. I think the worst film that I might watch this year is Fantastic Four. They keep like the shit that they keep fucking
Yeah, Julia Gardner is the Silver Surfer. How do you feel about that?
So I don't have an issue with that particularly because that she was in Ozark and I think the actress there is fine.
Oh, she's
And
fantastic. And she was
yeah,
also in that show, Inventing Anna.
yeah. So I think she's fine. It's going to be a case probably of the script being shit and she's going to have to try and elevate the script with her performance. Now, to be fair, female Silver Surfer is a thing in the comics, but the thing that the comic book people or the people that are like, well, you wanted comic book accuracy. Yeah, but did I really want a character that came from a failed run of books? Like they considered that a failed run. It was not successful. That's why you haven't seen any more female Silver Surfer comics because it just didn't work.
So who's the lineup? Do we know who the hell everybody is in this movie yet?
Yeah, and I'm gonna talk about it. The actor for Johnny Storm, Human Torch,
Here,
has a quote.
send me the link in the chat so we can
Let me,
both
yeah,
dissect
let me
this.
let me pull up this quote because I also have to mention this too because we talk about politicians and like celebrities going around lecturing people about stuff. I'm also kind of just sick of these actors that fucking uh that decide to go on these tours and lecture audience like you want audiences to come see your movie, but you tell people that the character represents you. um
Right.
like it represents you. Let me see where the quote is. Okay. Oh, come on. All
Uh,
right, I found it. I'm gonna send you it.
okay.
Okay.
All right, hold on. Yeah. So as he is sending it here, um, we are discussing the cast for the Fantastic Four film, the upcoming.
Well,
Uh,
I'm talking about a particular cast member because for as much shit as for like the amount of like crap that Pedro Pascal might say and stuff like that, he is a good actor. I think Pedro Pascal is a great actor. I won't deny that. The man knows how to deliver a performance and he's solid.
oh,
It's this
absolutely.
so to give some context to the statement, the man who's going to play Johnny Storm was talking with Kevin Feige, and they said that
Yeah.
in the comics and traditionally in other media, Johnny Storm has been known as a womanizer, devil may care type. And the guy says, "Is that sexy nowadays?" I don't think so. And the reason why I take issue with that statement is because the word "I," not I might not the audience might not find that acceptable or the culture might not find that acceptable.
Right.
Now,
So he's
now
doing the
both of those
same thing that
answers,
Rachel Ziegler did.
no, I wouldn't say it's to that degree. No, I'd say that this is least offensive. No, Rachel Ziegler just decided to just well, I don't even care if it's a bad word to say. Rachel Ziegler just decided to be as retarded as humanly possible. Yep, I said the R word. I really do not care. You can't.
Joseph Quinn. Okay, I'm not familiar with this particular chap,
I've never heard of him
but
either.
he's a British actor.
Oh,
So let's see who's in Fantastic Four: First Steps. We got Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic, Julia Garner, um,
as Sue
Susan
Storm.
Storm, Red Ghost is John Malkovich. Do we have Thing in
We
here
should.
anywhere?
It should be. He's in the trailers.
Who is Thing?
Do they not have the actor's name on there?
Not that I can see. Oh yeah, Thing. Yes, yes. Um, Eben Moss Bachrach. I'm not familiar with him.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah, it's kind of a strange cast. I'm not quite sure
But
what the goal is.
I take less offense with the cast and I take more offense with what this guy said here. The reason why I take issue with this statement is that you don't care how this character looks to your audience or in the current culture. I think those are shitty things to consider too. You care about how it looks for you. It's all about yourself. And
Right.
it's this self-grandizing thing of how do I feel about this character? Homeboy, if you know the characters, all of these things, why would you sign up to play it? Do you think converting the character in such a way is a smart idea? Like in a
Well,
franchise
because I don't know how many roles these people are getting, Jimmy. So what they really try to do is they try to make a name for themselves by being in a big role and by saying all this mushy gushy political shit, and they somehow think that that is going to elevate them into the Hollywood darlinghood that they need to keep the ball rolling after the first movie.
you know
It's
what?
just what it seems like to me.
You know what? To that end, I would say then you better find this modern audience of yours pretty fucking quick.
Oh
Like
yeah,
you,
I don't know who wants to see some sissy baby Johnny Storm. I
let,
didn't I
let's
didn't think
let,
that was the
let's
point of it.
let's call it for what it is. Making Johnny Storm a soy boy is not the move I would because my guess is, and because I have to be more creative than my thoughts than this cocksucker is we can't have a man be a womanizer devil may care type, even though that's one of the charms and the parts of Johnny Storm as a character, because that might be offensive in the current cultural environment, which is strange given the era that the Fantastic Four comes from. You're taking a set of characters that are from a more retro era and you're trying to modernize them in about the worst ways humanly possible. I
Right, and
feel
that was why Chris Evans was Johnny Storm the first time. He really kind of fit that sort of kind of playboy sort of role.
I I would
This guy,
I would
I don't
argue
know what the mission is for this dweeb.
the, my guess is the mission is to I don't know, am I like the meme of very brave and very stunning, or like brave and stunning.
Yes.
That's what I'm thinking this is because well, you see, I'm not chewing the traditional norm with this guy, and it's just like, okay. And also,
Okay, great.
the CGI in this movie is somehow worse than the CGI from like Rise of the Silver Surfer. And that movie was shit. But the CGI there is so much better. And I would argue that like that movie fails because in the story it's trying to tell. I would argue that the viewing experience for that was, even though it was a bad movie, it just for the time the visuals look great and they still look good now. The visuals for this movie
Right.
look like shit.
I
And
haven't
like
seen very much of it yet.
they dropped another trailer recently, and I wasn't particular like,
Not particularly fond of it.
yeah.
And my thing is too, what I don't understand the casting. I don't understand the direction of the film. I don't
Oh,
understand why they have to remake these characters and make them all soft and sensible and virtuous and just nothing feels like it's three-dimensional anymore. Everything just kind of feels like Chat GPT writes it. And
no, I would
I
have to I would have to disagree because I'm not defending AI, but when you type stuff, when I've experimented with this and I've typed some like plot points for stuff into an AI thing and I've created like a mini universe. No, Chat GPT and AI respect continuity and story structure better than some of these writers. It's not perfect, but fuck me, it respects it better, man.
my
I don't
wife
have
was
it.
on the
My
show.
issue isn't necessarily much with the casting. I've always been a firm believer you cast for talent. And outside of the guy who plays Johnny Storm, uh, I'd say that that is mostly true. I get a sense that the guy who plays the Thing seems to fit the character well. And from the trailer I've seen, he looks like he resonates with the character. I don't know too much about Susan Storm. And look, I don't mind if there's soft and tender moments. The idea of Fantastic Four is a story about family. It is a story about that. And Marvel has
Right.
had some failed attempts at the whole family unification thing. They tried telling a bit of a family story within Black Panther 2. That failed. They attempted to do that Ant-Man 3, which you would think with a character that's more localized and grounded, telling a family-based story would be easier. They fucking botched the landing on that. Maybe this is it.
I mean, we'll have to see. But the unique choice in casting. Who's to say? Maybe Julia Garner. She's a very talented actress. She might bring something to the table for Silver Surfer that we're not even expecting. And that look, while the comic may not have done well, the movie itself may draw some intrigue. And even if the movie doesn't do well commercially, Julia might come out of this, a bit of a hidden gem in the movie.
Yeah.
We never really know. Um, but aside from the Fantastic Four, is there anything else this year that you are looking forward to or not looking forward to as far as movies? Any other trailers that have dropped for anything?
I don't think they've dropped a new Superman trailer, but I know that the early test screenings for it have been really solid. So I'm
Okay.
so I'm particular that I'm looking forward to. I think it's nice that we're gonna have a golden heart or like a golden boy, like wholesome Superman again. I think that's been very lacking as of late. I think going back to what made Superman a genuine, solid character to begin with is what's needed. This is a rare position in which DC, if James Gunn and other people play their cards right, could build a better cinematic universe than what Marvel has going on right now because Marvel has been pretty directionless since Endgame. We were going to head in the direction of Kang with the multiverse stuff, but then the stuff with Jonathan Majors happened. And since we couldn't recast someone to fill the slot of Kang, we're instantly rushing into Doctor Doom. So any setup towards that is pretty much scrapped. So we're kind of going straight for, you know, and
Then why
that's
did they kind of just abandon the whole thing for?
I I couldn't tell you. I'm quite baffled that they could not find a replacement actor. If you don't want Jonathan Majors to come back, fine, but you need someone to fill that spot. Otherwise, you had people invest into a storyline, and yes, I'll admit that the way that Marvel was handling it was shit. But I'd rather, if I invest into a shitty story, rather see how it ends than invest into it. Then you just decide, well, I don't feel like finishing it now because reasons. Like it's really irritating when we pull the rug like that.
Right. And maybe they just felt that for PR they had to abandon the entire character for a while. I don't understand how these companies think, but perhaps maybe that was something they were concerned about.
Well, they treated Jonathan Majors in the same way that Johnny Depp got treated when it came to all that shit. But unfortunately for Jonathan Majors, whereas Johnny Depp was completely innocent and was casted out in the wrong, Jonathan Majors just got completely downcast. Just
Right.
and I know people are going to get annoyed saying, I can't believe you want to replace him as Kang. I don't want to either, but I think it's really stupid to just drop the story completely. How are you going to repick that up in the future? Like, you've already, like, what's the, like, if they pick it up again, I'd be shocked if they just mythically pick it up again. Because usually the way that phases 1, 2, and 3 would tell their stories is that the movies would build up towards a grander narrative. You would world build towards a conclusion. Uh Phase 1 build up towards the Avengers, phase 2 built up towards Infinity War, phase 3 built up to Infinity War, and then eventually Endgame. And then phase 4 hasn't built up really to anything. As a matter of fact, there hasn't like there isn't a current team of Avengers that's been formed. That's how like misguided the story is. We don't have a new Avengers team. There isn't a new superhero team. And phase 1 had a team built by the end of its first phase. But you're telling me 2 almost 3 phases in we don't have a solid cohesive team built?
Well,
The
what
fuck are we doing?
well, here's a question is who do you think should have a movie that currently does not?
I think they need to give Iron Fist another try because man, they fucked that up with the Netflix show. Iron Fist is a really cool character, but if you went off of the Netflix series and you're like, "Wow, this character seems really shit." I wouldn't blame you. The character's really and on top of that, Iron Fist in the comics, and I have the comic to where he mentions at one point he was an Avenger. You could have that guy build towards a future Avengers team.
Right.
You could make whatever Avengers team you want as long as the writing builds up to it properly. For example, the first Thor movie took Thor and they grounded him. They took Thor's banishment and having him be sent to Earth has his trial, making it like he became like us. He was grounded. He was a average person.
Yeah.
Like if you deploy your writing properly, you could make great things happen. But and I think it might we could talk about the woke stuff, the anti-woke stuff. We could talk about all of that. But for me, the worst crime that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has committed from phase 4 moving forward is a lack of proper world building. We're 2 phases in and we haven't really built up towards anything. Whereas I had mentioned before, the first 3 phases built up towards some grand narrative. It took 3 phases to finish the story of the Infinity Saga, and where there were some duds along the way, it was mostly incredible stories told. But even in the duds, you got something out of it. Thor the Dark World was a shit film, but you got something out of it. I watch Ant-Man Quantumania, and since you've decided to scrap Kang from the story completely, or in the very least indefinitely, I think he's scrapped permanently.
Uh-huh.
Like that movie is like not only did that movie bomb, but it adds nothing to your story. It's bad enough if a movie bombs, but if it at least adds something to your story, fine. But to bomb and to add nothing to your story or to further it is even worse. It's criminal.
Well, they could be in the position, Marvel, being one with Disney. They may not be in a position to bomb right now because of how much money Snow White just cost Disney. So they might have to be very careful with how much money they put into a film that might not do so well.
Well, they've got 2 more films that I know of this year. Thunderbolts, which is dropping on May 2nd.
Yeah, that looks good.
I hope it. Like I don't have too many complaints with it. We'll see. I hope, but even if it does good, I think Fantastic Four won't do good. I would be shocked if it did. So it's like even if Thunderbolts does good, you have to hope that Fantastic Four does good, or you have to hope the Thunderbolts profit you so much that if Fantastic Four bombs, which people like historically, Fantastic Four media outside of the comics hasn't been the greatest. Like they
Right.
like the live. I don't know what it is when it comes to. I've never figured it out when it comes to Fantastic Four and live action adaptations that it fucking sucks every time. I even the Fantastic Four films I grew up with, they were like they were shit. But man, when you start making them look good in comparison, it's just that's not a good sign when you're making objectively horrible films look really good in comparison because story wise, they at least added something. I shouldn't have to say that Thor 2 and Iron Man 3 are objectively good films compared to the shit because they added something to their grander narrative. That feels disgusting and criminal to say.
Yeah, but do you think that it makes any sense having Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom?
I I don't think the problem is necessarily him playing Doctor Doom. I think it's him playing a variant of Doctor Doom because the Doctor Doom he's playing is a variant of Iron Man that becomes Doctor Doom. So we're getting a variant of Doctor Doom introduced before Doctor Doom Prime is introduced. You would
Right,
think, like in this Fantastic Four film, they're already showing Galacticus. We're showing that in the trailer right away. Whereas with Thanos, we saw little bits of pieces of him. Like the first time we saw him in the Marvel Cinematic Universe was him on his throne in Guardians of the Galaxy. There's little
right,
bits of him dropped, eventually building towards his arrival in Infinity War. But here they're already showing Galacticus, which most certainly has potential to be a phase-ending antagonist or who could anchor an entire saga if they wanted to. But he's already shown in the first trailer. Why not have Doctor Doom be your first antagonist and then build from there? Starting off
right,
with Galacticus already feels fuck. We're already introducing like Sue Storm is pregnant with their kid already. We're already introducing Franklin Richards. Like it's like we're introducing way too many moving pieces all at once.
and I guess they're trying to start at a different phase in the Fantastic Four universe instead of
Well,
starting from the beginning.
Well, I don't expect them to adapt and follow the same exact timeline in the comics, but it's like I don't know if I would have shown Galacticus in the trailer. I would have had Galacticus as either a mid or post credit scene. Have that be the build up for my phase ending antagonist. Having
Right,
him show up in the trailer along with any version of the Silver Surfer is not the move I would do because at least fuck, even the 90s version of the Fantastic Four had the right to show off Doctor Doom first. And that shit was fucking terrible. But at least they made a point to be like, this is their main antagonist. This is their arch nemesis. This is the guy right here.
right.
It's like
But you
X
know
Men.
who?
Go ahead.
What were you saying?
It's like X Men films if they decide to show Apocalypse before showing Magneto. When
Right,
Apocalypse can anchor an entire like saga of those films. You show them from the get-go rather than having Magneto who has enough story of his own to like get the story and the ball rolling towards Apocalypse and everything.
right. And well, I can tell you right now, um, you want to know um who is always the main protagonist, no matter what, sir.
Who?
who is truly one of the biggest villains in the game, a legend, if you will, a comedian. His name is Tom Myers, and he was back on today, Jimmy.
Oh fuck. Oh, how I miss Tom so much.
Oh shit. Okay, would you watch the new Minecraft movie if Tom Myers was in it instead of if it was Jack Black and Tom Myers? Would you give that a watch?
No, I would leave.
You think America would fall in love with Tom Myers in that movie?
America would be like, who?
But if it's so, you don't think they would find him charming and fun? There you
No.
go. Instead of Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom, it's fucking Tom Myers.
Oh yes. Who cares to give that role to who cares to give that role to a person like Callie Murphy? Let's give it to Tom Myers. While we're at it, why don't we have Stuttering John play the Thing?
We should, oh, he looks like the Thing. He doesn't even need to have any makeup. John can just walk in as he is. So here's this dweeb going on about something. I don't even know.
I don't know what I want to do. Maybe I'll. I mean, I know it's not as popular as this stream. At least I'm consistently staying in the double digits in terms of viewership today. It's not as popular as this stream, but I might throw together like an extended episode of Tom Myers versus the rest of the world. New episode drops tomorrow morning, by the way, on this very channel, my Patreon, and wherever you get your podcasts. So I'll give you something on.
We've never gotten into Tom Myers versus the rest of the world. I've tried to watch it and tried to clip it. It is so. What?
It's insufferable. I can't get
Have you
through
tried
it.
to watch it yourself?
I've tried. It's fucking like I think that if people think this shit's bad, I would argue that's worse.
Well, because Tom is not funny. He's not charming. He's not conversational. There's not a whole lot of upside to old Tommy Boy whatsoever. But yet he insists on trying to do like this whole, sort of like Bill Maher type shtick. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, I watched the clip you sent me of him with his the zingers he told. Was it like Maryland cuisine or was some shit?
You've never been in Maryland a day in your life. Have you ever had a funnel cake?
I've had a funnel cake.
You've had a funnel cake in Nebraska, I take it.
I've had a funnel cake in New York. I've had a funnel cake in Florida. What are they actually putting fucking coke or methamphetamine in it in Maryland?
Dude, I don't know, dude. Nick Mullen has said this before that Tom Myers is kind of he's kind of schizophrenic in nature, in the sense that he's really all over the place, and you never quite understand what the fuck he's talking about. Like where he's coming from. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, Tom. I'm not too sure. Again, what he's talking about.
Yeah, if you're gonna do, you gotta do.
Cakes are big in Maryland, and actually, let's watch that joke. Let's pull this joke up. This fucking thing. It's a brain teaser. It's a true brain teaser.
To have it's one of its specialties be a pastry that looks like it's
Also, you notice how he's in front of lucha libre masks while he's doing this?
I noticed that. I didn't even think to question it. This is the same guy who has his StreamYard's watermark up, on his show that isn't a show. At this point, I don't question a bunch of random Libre masks behind him because that's so on brand for this guy.
I don't know. Maybe he was at a bar. I'm not sure what's happening here, but it doesn't even matter. This is the joke, ladies and germs.
Mhm. One of Maryland's specialties is funnel cake, which is fitting for Maryland to have. It's one of its specialties be a pastry that looks like it's covered in heroin. Another one of our specialties is seafood pizza. Like seafood is good, pizza is good, just not together.
No.
Okay. It's like, it always looks like, you remember that scene in Home Alone where Kevin's brother throws up on the cheese pizza?
Mm-hmm.
That's what our seafood pizza looks like.
Oh.
And being from Baltimore, we still eat it.
Let me tell you a better food joke. So I told this at a set. How the setup goes is that one of my best friends growing up, he's originally from Chicago, eventually moved to New York. I'm originally from New York, so we've always had this meme-worthy thing to where we debate what the better style of pizza is. Me being me, I naturally say the New Yorker. Him being him,
Right.
says it's obviously Chicago on the very least, deep dish. So how it goes is that we're both high, we're just hanging out, and at one point, we get into the pizza debacle, and somewhere in there, he says, well, you like, he was like, I say, how it goes is, fuck, I'm trying to remember how the setup was.
Yeah. But did it involve heroin on
No,
top
it
of?
didn't involve heroin or throw up, I promise.
Did it
How it
involve
goes,
your friend that used to put a bagel in his ass and you would take the cream cheese on your tongue and spread it across the bagel?
no,
It wasn't that joke.
no, it wasn't. How it went was, at
It
one point,
wasn't.
he was like, he was like, well, I prefer my women like my pizza thick and all that other stuff. And I said, and he was like, what about you? And I was like, wow, preferring my women like I prefer my pizza. Women that are thin that I can fold, because in New York, you fold. See? There's a little more thought behind that.
Did you
Because
ever
that
tell
is
the story?
because that is something that you culturally do when you eat
Right.
pizza from New York. You
You
fold it.
when you can fold.
And it's
Right.
thinner than
Yes.
deep dish. There's actual thought there, but here's the thing.
Right.
It's
And
not
that's a New
trying.
York thing. Funnel cake is not a fucking Maryland invention. I don't know where he gets these ideas from. He talks about Maryland nonstop, and he lives here. We're not an interesting place, I can promise you. But you ever tell that one joke, Jimmy, about how you and your buddies you would put peanut butter on your schlong, and he'd put jelly on his, and then you would dock each other and make peanut butter and jelly cock sandwiches?
No, I didn't decide to do what Johnny Cross did in his younger years.
You ever tell the story about how you tried to put you? Never mind.
You're stupid.
You're not buying any of this shit anyway. You're not selling any of it. So I'm just gonna.
Oh, you want me to sword fight with some peanut butter and jelly? Tee. Funny
No, but
man.
when your buddy puts a bagel in his ass and then you have to eat it from it.
Yeah, I don't know where. Like, I decided to look up if funnel cake was a Maryland invention, because I genuinely didn't
And it
know.
wasn't.
And to no one. So I agree with you. It's just like, yet again, I'm not going to act like my pizza joke there was the funniest joke in the world, but at
Shane
least,
Gillis performed in Baltimore, and
yes.
Tom Myers said, "Well, I hope they serve Chinese food there."
I think I
And
remember
you
you. I remember you telling me about this,
and you remember and you get the joke, I guess, because he
Yes.
made fun of Chinese people,
yeah,
but for some reason they'd be eating Chinese food if they were there, and like it
you want to
doesn't
know what
make
I
any
found particularly funny about that? Shane Gillis is a comedian who was canceled, and he came out on the other side better for it. How is Tom to think he can match with Shane fucking Gillis, a guy who could be who has been a guest on Joe Rogan numerous times. How is Tom Myers thinking that he could out like the only
Not
person?
even just Joe Rogan. Look at his career. Look at
Of course.
Tires, everything he's done on Kill Tony. The
Yeah.
fact that SNL wanted him to play Trump during the entire season 50. Tom Myers, look, yeah, he's performed around the country, but you know what? He's probably done it once and never again. He's opened. Look, he's done more than you and I have done, but and look, and it's not like he's bombed everywhere. Okay,
Yeah,
he
but
has
what
went
does
to
he
small towns.
Yeah, but what does he have to show for it?
Look, I'm just saying, not very much, but the fact that he goes to small towns and he kills because his cornball material is going to work in the middle of nowhere, and he knows that to an extent. And look, I don't know what Tom's living situation is. I don't know how much money he has. I don't know if he has a day job or what. But Tom seems to exist for himself. Okay, whatever your definition of that might be.
The only two people that I can think of offhand that Tom Myers can outwit is Ray DeVito and Stuttering John. It's the only people
We've
that I can
seen
think
him
of.
outwit Ray DeVito, and that wasn't very hard. We saw
No,
that
that
on
was the point of my comment, that it's not very hard to outwit any of those two. It wasn't as much of a compliment as it was you can accomplish the bare minimum.
Well, Tom Myers, by the way, I couldn't pull the clip, but he was on Levy Land the other day with Bob, and that was kind of interesting. He's been on with Chad Zumach a couple times. Tom is looking to do shows that's gonna benefit him, that he's gonna make money from. That's why he had zero interest in speaking to us, even though that he is slightly bigger of a nobody than we are, because he knows that he is an internet meme, and because of that, he is attached to the Dabbleverse in a very extracurricular sort of way. But because of that, he's able to get on these shows. And if Tom would just lean into things more, I think he'd be able to do like Point Dabble Point and that kind of shit too. But he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to work with Carl, and I think he's making a mistake.
Oh, of course, and that I'll admit I don't know. I feel like us being relatively unknown is better than being known and being a punching bag for stuff like who are these podcasts and whatnot. I couldn't imagine traveling around the country and even parts of the world for 20 years. And how it looks on the other end is that your living situation isn't unknown. What we do know is you do not live in a place of your own. If it's not a basement, you're going to a hotel to escape flooding and all this other fucking
right. Now, I know that he lives in a house. I don't know if it's his parents' house. I don't know if he has been able to just over time buy his own house, but he does live in a house. And look, you know what? He makes a good living doing minor league baseball. Okay, he does minor league baseball.
He's an
He
announcer,
does some
right?
spots for local news stations. So Tom Myers probably does okay. Aside from the fact that he is obtusely unfunny.
Yeah, it's bad enough to be obtusely funny, but yet again, when you make a joke about cultural stuff, even if it isn't funny or the funniest joke in the world, you want it to be spot on. That's why I brought up my pizza joke. Is it the funniest joke in the world? Probably not. But is it digestible? Yes, because it's easy to understand, because the analogy of comparing women to different types of pizzas, because there are different types of women in pizza, it's easy to get back to. That's easy to follow. You don't need to be a rocket scientist.
And also too, Tom, I mean, I understand that he is in his 40s, no girlfriend, no kids, no real form of reference. But when you're buying a funnel cake, I feel like when I think about a funnel cake, I feel like, I'm at a carnival. I'm at the beach.
Or
People are
something.
buying it for their children. It doesn't look like heroin. In what world does powdered sugar on a funnel cake look like heroin?
I
How
figured
does
you would.
your mind
I
get
figured
there?
you would say powdered cocaine or something like that. That
But
would
how
be.
does your mind even get there?
I don't know. It's because it's like you said. Not only is he, it's like being terribly unfunny is one thing, but like, not only did he get it incorrect that was not a Maryland invention, but worst off, I was
One of
thinking.
our staples in Maryland.
Well, in my mind, I was thinking cocaine because of powdered cocaine, and the powdered sugar could look like that. And for some people, that gives you like a rush. But to be fair, I'm thinking a lot harder on a joke that this
Right,
professional.
but this is what everybody does. Everybody kind of seems to have to digest Tom Myers' jokes because it's a lot to take in with Tom Myers.
I
There's
might
a
eat
lot
that.
going on with him. There's a lot going on there with him.
I'd rather eat that seafood pizza before I have to fully digest a Tom Myers joke.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. I couldn't take very much of Tom tonight, so we kind of had to move on. Before we close out tonight, Jimmy,
Yes.
as I am still making our decision of where we land, and I'm being very surreptitious about it all. I've been kind of communicating to you, oh, I'll be nearby, whatever.
Yes.
I don't necessarily think that I will be in the Cornhusker state, but I will be potentially nearby. And what really sucks is Nebraska overwhelmingly, even in the rural counties, voted to legalize medical cannabis and voted to um, um, uh, initiate a medical cannabis program. And those efforts, at least for the remainder of 2025, have been jilted by the Nebraska State Court. But we're not going to hear anything until 2026 when it will be reheard. And as a matter of fact, they also turned down the efforts for decriminalization in Sarpy County and in Hall County. And Hall County, not to, I stay away from Hall County, my brother. But Sarpy County, most certainly, that's the most urban part of Omaha. That's like South Omaha,
Oh yeah.
where a lot of Blacks and Hispanics live. And
Yeah.
and so with Hall County as well.
Yep.
To just to be transparent, that's Grand Island and Lexington,
Yep.
also where minorities live. And this is being done by design, and it's not fair. And look, even in Chadron, I mean, yeah, Chadron is relatively white, but as you go across the state, especially in Omaha, in Lincoln, like I said, in Grand Island, Lexington, to an extent in Kearney, you really do see a melting pot in Nebraska. You see the entire gambit, and the fact that the counties that were putting decrims in place that got sharply overturned are those who have a demographic that is rather interesting. And I question, um, let's just say if Dawes County ever gets their shit together on anything, if they ever fucking figure out their shit on anything, and as a resident there for a decade, you know why you're laughing. If these fucking people ever figure it out, look, man, Chadron could be such a kick-ass town. I could go on forever. But my point is that if they could figure this out, could you imagine if like Dawes County just decrimmed? Do you think they would question it? Except maybe for the natives. Do you think they would question it at all?
Probably, but my guess would be probably because of some enough of the elderly people I've heard around town kind of still have that I don't want to say disdain, but more or less indifference towards it.
Right. And my thing is that I feel that a lot of people are coming to the point where, I mean, it's only illegal. It doesn't lead to crime. I don't see where any of this is. And I know people within the Trump administration are saying that it leads to crime. I don't see where the crime really comes from in legalization alone. It's not as if that gangs are suddenly spawning in cities because they're smoking a little reefer and getting some wacky ideas. So I do hope that the tone changes, but unfortunately, I think it's going to go the same way as South Dakota. North Dakota has a very sophisticated medical program, but recreational continues to fall short. But for Nebraska, they are engulfed more or less between Colorado and Missouri. Along the other side there, well, South Dakota has medical, and you can even go into the reservations. Remember, the reservations in South Dakota, the tribes can sell cannabis. So it is widely available. And I really don't understand why we continued all of this mythology and all of this pushback, and we just throw these legislative tantrums. 60% of the state voted for it. Do they think that that's all Omaha and Lincoln? Or are we going to be real here and admit that there are people in fucking, Rock County somewhere that are just as on board?
Yeah, I don't understand that. Like, in order for that claim to work, that it's just Omaha and like the bigger like states, you would have to pull and put up all the stats of the individual. But even then, 60%. I'm granting a lot of charitability to even if it was like
We're going
Omaha.
to put the stats in 96 counties.
Yeah, but you need to because
Right.
the argument they're trying to make is that it's what you're mentioning. The argument they're trying to make, it seems like, is that it's all primarily coming from Omaha, Lincoln, GI, and the likes. But when you come down to it, you'd be surprised with even the smaller towns and villages, people who would prefer that.
And it would make a lot of money for them. And here's the thing, Jim, you've lived in Nebraska now, what, 10 years?
Yes.
Longer than you've lived in Florida. You've been in Nebraska now,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. I lived in Florida for about 4. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So you and I've been I lived in Nebraska 5. I've been back in Maryland 5. So I guess, technically I've lived in Maryland the majority of my time if you combine this run and growing up. But that's neither here nor there.
Yes.
What I was trying to get at is, you've been in Nebraska a long time now. You
Yes.
know the saying, and it's dying off, but there's certainly the discrepancy between the real Nebraska and the other Nebraska. And for people that don't know, the rural and urban despondency. When I worked in radio, I was working at KCSR. They're in Shattern, and the GM of the radio station, his name was Dennis Brown. He still runs the place. Everybody knows Dennis.
Yep.
He used to really plead the case that the Nebraska Broadcast Association should meet us in Scottsbluff. They should come to Shattern. The college Shattern State College would have absolutely held the Nebraska Broadcasting Association. They needed to come to the Panhandle to see how the western side and the south central side of Nebraska handled broadcasting and handled advertising, but they would never budge, and they stay in Omaha and Lincoln. And a lot of the groupthink when it comes to how things are done legislatively, as you know, it's the same exact way. And you are there on the ground. You haven't left. What is the feeling of not just cannabis, but like a lot of things politically right now? is small in your opinion, where you live, are people who voted for Trump still happy with him? Like how what is the small town view of things right now, Jimmy?
So the people who voted for Trump and are Trump supporters, they're happy. They understand that uh despite what the people in Omaha, Lincoln, and GI, people like Destiny might think.
GI is pretty conservative, pal, but yeah,
Well, for a time, it seemed to be on the
getting
other.
there.
Yeah, but so let's go with Omaha and Lincoln in the very least for sure. People like Destiny will tell you that the people out here are just inbred, dumb, stupid hick rednecks. But as a guy who's been
I've
out
never
here,
met one inbred person in Nebraska, by the way.
yeah, but besides the point,
Do you think Destiny has been out there? Like, see, he lives in Omaha. Do you think he's been out to the Panhandle at
no,
all?
I
No,
no. But
no.
back to my point. They understand that because there are people on the left who, and this isn't even a political point. This is just an economic point. Nothing screams economic illiteracy more than Trump getting elected, and then people the next day going like, "Oh, your price of eggs didn't go down." Yeah, because that's not how the economy works. The price of eggs is going down. The economy is starting to shift.
Yeah. Well, are the prices looking better in Nebraska? Like in small town America, the prices
Yeah.
probably look good compared to where I'm living right now.
Yeah, prices have went down slightly, and I was indifferent towards the tariffs because tariffs can either be really good or really bad depending on how you deploy them. And I understand why they were deployed here. It looks like that they are working, though. The intended effect is to the people out here definitely agree that you want to bring jobs back to America, manufacturing here.
1,000%. And I think even liberals would feel that way out there.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, people in an area like this to where it's smaller and you have to generally build things up from the ground by yourself, and you do it all here with everything here in the States, it
Yeah.
would. And the other thing is that for places like out here and some of the smaller towns and cities, you could open up more like manufacturing stuff. Like Alliance right now could, like, the railroading industry is kind of like tanked out in Alliance. I think Alliance could bounce back, and out here could bounce back if we got a few
I
manufacturing
don't
plants.
understand.
It would boom.
I think there should be like an Amazon warehouse in Scottsbluff.
Just
I don't understand why there isn't more of a strive to get those sorts of things out there.
but my consensus is that for the most part, the people out here are seeing that the economy is slowly repairing, because when you've had 4 years worth of damage done to the economy, it's not going to recover in a day. No sane
Right.
person would ever indicate that. But no, the people out here aren't as dumb as people would like to believe. And I doubt this will ever come across Destiny's crosshairs. I was born and raised in New York. Fuck, I even lived in Florida. I've lived in massive population dense areas for most of my life. Like,
You've been around the country since you have lived in Nebraska. You haven't just stayed in one spot.
oh no, yeah, I've been to Rapid more times than I can count. I've been to Colorado a fair amount of times. I've been to Wyoming a few times.
That's always fun.
I've been to North Dakota once. The idea, though, is that I have an idea for how these types of places work. You interact with people. You get to know people. Like,
You're because I feel like we've talked about this before on the show, but
yes.
you're I feel like you might have just had like a rough time, but you said your weekend in Fargo was like one of the most frustrating weekends of your life.
Oh, I wouldn't attribute that to the entirety of Fargo. I would just attribute that to how life in the city works. A homeless person following you around and making threatening acts at you is nothing new. I've had this
Did he
happen.
walk into the McDonald's with you though? That
He was
homeless
in
guy?
he was in the McDonald's, which
Oh, okay.
yet again,
As homeless guys are.
living in New York and Florida, this is not surprising. How the story went, which is the short version, is I went to pay for my food. The guy said, "You should pay for my food." I politely said no because I just didn't feel like it. And he said,
Were you also like 20 and had no money?
"Well, I just told him, well, no, I just told him I wasn't going to pay for it. Like, I didn't even play the
Oh,
game.
okay.
I just straight up said that I wasn't going to pay for it. I didn't tell him how much money I had in my wallet. I just said, I'm not going to pay for it. And his reaction or response was, you're going to pay for it. And I said, no.
And what did the cashier do during all of this?
Well, the cashier finally, after like 3 minutes, was just like, what's going
3
on?
minutes. She let this go on for 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Yep.
So what happened?
The guy eventually got thrown out of the place because rather than this lady throwing this guy out because he's making threatening acts at me, she says, well, you're a paying customer and he's not, so I ought to take care of that. And I'm like, shouldn't you be taking care of that because he's making threatening remarks at people, regardless if I'm a paying customer?
No, you know what? If he had $5 in his pocket and he could buy a coffee, he could sit there and screw at you all day long. When I was at Wendy's, we had this guy. He was a homeless man. And I don't know if he had a mental illness or not, but he was always outside the store. But he was a senior citizen.
Yeah.
So he was able to go ahead and get his free coffee, his free senior coffee, and he would sit inside.
Yeah.
Well, it's very cold in Billings.
Of course.
And he would sit inside for hours on it and bother people and try to shake people down, so he could get a cheeseburger or what have you. And finally, we had to ask him to leave, and he couldn't come back in. Well, one day, he hobbles his way in, and he makes a beeline for the counter. And the way the Wendy's was, the front door was kind of here.
Yeah.
And the Coke machine and stuff was like towards the wall with the trash cans.
Yes. Yeah.
And right directly there, we had like this kind of curve around front counter.
Yeah.
So he swings in and comes straight up to the center of the front counter and leans over. So my boss comes over and says, sir, I asked you to leave. And he says, I only hate you because you hate me. And he's like pointing at him. And he says, sir, I asked you to leave. And he says, well, he asked you to leave. And he says, well, this is a public place. And he says, sir, this is private property. He says, I'm allowed to be here. I'm a patron. I'm a senior citizen, and I'm entitled to my coffee. He's never paid for anything. He's not a patron. And it was crazy, man. That happened. What?
But yeah, I'm not gonna let that speak for the entirety of
Fargo,
North Dakota. I'm just gonna
just McDonald's in particular.
Yeah, and you know what? At the same exact time, I don't entirely blame the gal. You're working at McDonald's enough. Now you got to fucking deal with this shit too. Like, I get
she
it.
Probably like in her early 20s, just hating life.
I don't remember. All I know is that that was my Fargo experience. The point that I'm getting at is that there's a lot more people out in the smaller parts of Nebraska and these rural areas that are smarter than what people who would like to sit on a perch and tell you. And until you get on the ground and you talk to them, and in my case, you live among them, you won't know.
And I miss it, man. Like I said, we left in 2021. It's now 2025. It'll be 4 years. And I'm thinking about it, man. It's fuck. I don't know where yet, But small town people, especially when you're in the Midwest, you kind of get this travel bug about you. So you just kind of drive around, you see new states, you see new towns. It's a part of the culture, and everybody does it. Everybody's into it.
Yeah.
And
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 where
also
go ahead.
there's something to be said about the niceness of the people too, as compared to the East Coast. There's a bit more of a neighborliness about folks, you
Yeah.
know.
It's a lot more tender and all that.
Yeah, well, it depends where you go. Like I said, Billings was kind of rough.
Well, yeah.
But we'll
Well,
have
no,
to, yeah.
but no, overall, I would say that I'm also right by the state line to South Dakota, so it's not entirely bad. It's
Is there anywhere you want to go that you haven't in that region?
um, I guess there's a place up in Keystone, that's like a president's museum or something like that, or like a museum for the White House or something like that. I
Oh,
need to
okay.
I
Yeah.
need to research and check it out. I'd like to go and get that off my list.
Was your first time in Keystone when you went up with us?
Yes.
Yeah, when we took you up, it was funny because we were at the bar the night before, and my wife was I think we were sitting outside, and she said to me, "Hey, Jimmy just asked if we're all going to Mount Rushmore," and I said, "Yeah." I said, Jimmy took off. He took off to like hang out these next couple of days," and she's like, "All right, shit, yeah." So she had no idea. I don't think anybody really knew that you were coming. I think it was something that you and I talked about, and I just didn't
Oh.
bother telling Jack or Toby.
See,
We made it.
I thought you told your wife that. Oh, that's funny as shit.
Well, I said, look, when we get to I said, when we get to town, we're going to pick up Jimbo and go from there. And we had a good time. We
Of
have
course.
pictures. There's a good picture of you, me, and the wife at Mount Rushmore,
Yeah.
and Jack.
Yeah.
And yeah, well, Jack enjoyed that whole trip. He enjoyed the 120. He enjoyed the fave. He enjoyed the whole thing.
Yeah. No, it was a good trip. I enjoyed it.
We'll have to do something. I'm thinking when I get back out there, I don't know. There's a couple of things, and we can chat off air about it.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe when we get back out, I'm thinking maybe we'll have to do something. You'll have to come down wherever we are. Maybe like I don't know, maybe Idaho. Maybe Idaho would be nice.
I've never been to Idaho, so I would actually consider that.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe Arizona, but that's kind of over a little bit.
I mean,
But yeah,
I've never been to Arizona either, so I would not
there's
oppose
a
it.
lot of them. I want to. I'm trying to think where I'm going with this. I've been wanting to really kind of get into the 50 state club. I've been following this, and I've been following these people that have been to all 50. Some have
Yeah.
been to all 50 several times. I think
Okay.
I'm in the double digits somewhere, but I want to keep ranking them up.
Yeah, I think I'm barely in the double digits.
You've been to a fair amount, right?
Yeah. New York, New Jersey. I passed through Georgia on my way to Florida. Obviously, Florida, Denver,
Oh, right. You never
Wyoming.
drove out, have you? No.
Flown? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I have.
No, so you didn't drive across.
No, we flew.
Yeah. You've
But
been up
yeah.
to Montana?
Yeah, I've been to Billings, yes.
All right, you told me you told me building sucked.
Yeah. And I said and that yeah, when you brought that up, that whole feeling of Billings, I was like, yeah, I actually can relate. The people there fucking suck. Cold fucking douchebags. I absolutely agreed with you. I'm like, Jesus Christ, that wasn't just
Look,
me. Because the drive back, me and the boys were just like, did you get the feeling, this like air of like hostility, this like
Yes, man. Like look, I met some very nice people in Montana. I have a few people on my friends list from there, but they were not a friendly. They were very passive aggressive. They didn't really like themselves. They didn't like you. They didn't want to know your name, and you weren't going to know their fucking name. And that's
yeah.
just kind of how they lived. And I was thinking about this. I was talking to my wife earlier about I could easily take a job in Billings. Like it's not hard to get it. It wouldn't be hard to do
Yeah.
that. But why would I want we want to I like that region and I've been thinking about it, but I don't know because it's inaccessible and the people. I mean, it's like an aura of a dirty diaper up there.
Yeah, it just
Everybody's got like a piss mist about them.
yeah. And on the drive back, we talked about it. I'm like, did you guys get the feeling that they just didn't want us there? And they're like, yep. Like every single one of us got
And you
treated
were
like
just there
shit.
for a Magic tournament, right?
We were there for Yu-Gi-Oh! And this is a game
Oh,
store.
okay.
And this is a game store where you're usually
That
pretty
you drove 5 hours to get to.
Mm-hmm.
All the way through Sheridan and down. Fuck.
Yeah. And it was very
So when
bad
you
enough.
got to the game store, how did the guy like address you?
Well, everything was good until they said, "Where are you guys from?" And I casually said, "They're from Scottsbluff, Nebraska, and I'm from Chadron, Nebraska." And the guy was like, "Oh." Like there was a sense of like disappointment that we
And
weren't
what's
like
so crazy, it's only 3 states away. Like I would lie about being from Maryland. I used to say that I was from Nebraska when I lived in Billings.
yeah,
And
but
you
you
still
see
got like this shit mist thrown at you.
yeah, but you see, I didn't think I would have to lie of where I was traveling from because I didn't know that the response was going to be with such like disappointment and disdain all in one like fell swoop.
Right, right. And I kind of got that weird like there's been times where like I think I've told the story on the show before, but I flew to Salt Lake City by myself.
Yes.
I was like 20 years old. I think you remember this, Jim. I
Yeah,
think
I
you and
do.
I chatted when I was in Salt Lake.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and it's an interesting city because around like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, a lot of things are closed. Um, and I flew in. The entire city is just engulfed in mountains, and a lot of people are kind of to themselves and kind of strange. They're not friendly, but they're not unfriendly either. They're kind of they're very quiet to themselves, and it's sticky because you're in the desert. You may not think of that when you think of Utah, but you're very much in the desert.
I get it.
And I was walking downtown. I was across from the Fat Pig, which is like this barbecue bar. And then, like I said, like the mountains. I'll actually show you real quick what I'm talking about here because it's really hard to explain where I was. Here I was, right here, Jim. Come on. I guess I'll just have to share the screen of the Google search to show you real quick, just to give you an idea. So there I was. That very street there. If I can make it a little bit bigger. There you go.
Oh, okay.
This hold on. Damn it. That's not what I wanted to do.
Okay.
Here. Right here. This area here. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's surrounded by the mountains, and I'm just walking down, and there's these buildings and whatever. And I'm just kind of admiring the city, and there's traffic. It's like 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening. And there's like 1 million people that live in this city. And I never would have thought about it, but either there's skyscrapers and you have the medic helicopters going by and the tractor trailers and everybody's beeping and honking, and it's this really loud downtown. And I have my headphones in and I'm kind of just walking. Well, I went on for about an hour, and then I got to like this like other side. I was in North Salt Lake, and that area is like very quiet and kind of run down, little under construction. Well, I realized I must have just kind of wandered a bit too far off, because I found all the homeless people that are in Salt Lake City.
Ooh.
I found like the entire colony of homeless people. And this guy walked up to me, and he looked at me, and he was kind of like this kind of far off look. This eye here, I could tell it was like plastic or glass. It wasn't real. And he's looking at me with this one, and he's going, "Pardon me, sir. Have you seen my dogs?" And I said, "No, sir." He's, "Oh, come on. I had 5, 6 dogs here. You haven't seen them?" I said, "No, sir." And he says, "Well, if you see him, I'll be right here." And he just kind of looked at me for a minute, and then I guess he forgot what the fuck was going on, and he walked away. And then I'm walking down I decided to go down the alley, which was the worst fucking thing to do, and it was behind this Presbyterian church,
Yeah.
downtown Salt Lake City. Oh, and by the way, there's no street names in Salt Lake City. All the street signs are coordinates.
Yep.
Have you been told this before?
I've been told this, and I didn't believe it until I looked it up, and I thought that was really baffling that it's just
Yeah, they're all
coordinates.
coordinates. So I'm walking downtown, and I can't figure out where the fuck I am. And then I see this lady, this Asian lady, sitting on the curb, and she's smashing tin cans and throwing them into a grocery cart. And it's like, I'm it just and I think it said something about like, give me $1 or whatever. And it was just sad. I guess she was mashing them down because they're worth more for the recycle once they're flattened out. So
Yep.
she has a brick and she's just going. And it's really, really sad. And when you really start thinking about it, or you just start experiencing it, you see that homelessness is a problem in almost every city in this country. We had homelessness in downtown Billings.
When I lived in Florida, in the town next to the one that I lived in, behind the Kmart. I don't know what the situation now is, considering that most Kmarts are practically gone. But that's when I learned what a tent city was and what that sort of thing was. Learning that that was like in a colony of homeless people, but they would just all be in tents, and it was crazy.
Yeah, yeah, just completely terrible.
But given it was Florida, and I know people might say it's fucked up, I tend to avoid that because I've had run-ins with some homeless people in Florida, and the one after being followed for like 3 blocks by one guy, I don't like to have to pull a knife out on someone, but I don't know how else to get the point across that I don't want to be followed, and that's the only real way to say that you keep going with this, something's gonna happen. I
Well,
don't.
like, dude, like my old neighborhood in Billings, man. We had a homeless guy shoot a homeless guy in the alley. We had a homeless guy. We had a meth head stab another meth head. We had a woman show up dead in an old school like freezer, like deep freezer at the
Yep.
bottom of the street. We just had so much craziness going on. Billings is insane, man. And I mean, there's carjackings all the time. A lot of people don't make it past high school. A lot of people do not graduate high school. In some high schools, there's even meth being used in the high schools. Like it's a chaotic city, and it really sad because it's a beautiful place, but it's very hard. I was trying to get into radio, and the first question they asked me is, "Are you from Billings?" And I would lie and say I'm from Nebraska. I would say I'm from Shatter, Nebraska. And even by saying that, just like 2 or 3 states away, already they eject you. If you're from Wyoming, well, you get a pass because you're kind of the sister state to Montana. But yeah, they're really bad with outsiders. And when I lived there, it was during the pandemic, so a lot of Californians were my neighbors. A lot of people I met were from San Francisco, and they were living out there. And I don't think, or from Seattle, and I don't think any of those people are still there anymore.
Yeah.
There was actually an entire article about how Californians were quickly realizing that they were not welcomed neighbors in their Montana neighborhoods, and they all evacuated within like a couple of years.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And I think that's probably why that state, it doesn't really grow. It just kind of stays the same because people come in and they go, oops, this was a mistake. And it's sad because, I kind of did like Billings. There's things about Billings that I liked. And I think about it sometimes, but I don't know. Is that kind of how you are with Florida? Where like some aspects you might miss of it, but you're kind of happy that you're not living there?
Yeah, but I would say that had more to do with the weather than anything. I never felt like I wasn't welcomed in Florida. For me, it was just the
Right.
people. For me, it was the people in Billings. Like I have good friends out in Florida, so I would stand better if I ever decided to move back out there. I would have good cause, and I would have a decent support system. I couldn't move to Billings after that. Like if I ever moved to Montana, I would have to stay as far away from Billings as humanly possible.
And that was the sad thing. I feel like I saw the red flags when I was visiting Billings, and if I was a little more forward thinking in those days, I probably would have probably veered off to Omaha or wherever the hell we would have ended up.
Yeah.
But yeah, Billings was a strange experiment. And you're right. Okay, I was up there at the time. Faith's car had Maryland tags, and several like people tried to ride me off the road downtown. Did you experience that as well? The road rage?
No, because I would feel bad for the person who would, because there was like 6 guys in our fucking vehicle. I don't think you would want that. You're getting fucked
Who's
up.
up there? Anybody I would know up there with you or no?
No. It's people that people in my circle, as I would say.
Okay.
But no, we didn't have that kind of problem. I would feel bad for anyone who would attempt to do that, because I don't know about the other guys, but I'm willing to beat the brakes off of someone and call my boss and be like, yeah, I'm probably not going to be back to work right away. Got to deal with some bullshit in fucking Montana, but
Oh fuck. Yeah, man, it's crazy. There were shootouts all the time out there. But I don't know. I'm thinking about Colorado. I'm thinking about Nebraska, because I could make it work. We could make it work somewhere. Probably in the other Nebraska though. I don't know if I'd be in the Panhandle again. I don't know if I can handle that.
yeah.
And again, this is not for the live stream. This is not for like the mainstream audience to care, but I always say the Panhandle could be so much nicer if we didn't, if Nebraska, and I got before we end tonight, I do have to say this. It's a wonderful state, but as a culture, it cannibalizes itself. Scotts Bluff could be much more modernized than it is. Okay, Shattern could be a lot more modernized than it is. I'm not saying you take away the charm and the rustic nature of these places and the frontier sort of feel. You have to keep that. That's what makes it special. But when you decide to not further invest in these places, and you don't find a reason to keep the college students or the younger generations in these towns to raise children in these towns, then it's a problem. And that's the biggest thing that I think Shattern has against it. The older that I get, they always say a lot of people that live in that town always say, I lived here when I was younger, and I grew sick of it, and I had to move away, and I came back, and I've stayed forever. You know, I don't think that would be me, because there's just no fucking jobs, and there's nobody that can get a grip to figure it out. But I can't lie and say that I hope to make Shadron I hope that wherever we are, I would love to be in the demographic convenience to make Shadron a pit stop, maybe twice a year or so, because I would like to come up. I would like to be in town maybe for like fur trade days, and then I'd like to be in town around like Christmas. Like both of those times are pretty fun. I don't know. I'm just talking out of my ass at the moment.
Yeah.
But but it's true though, man. Like it does kind of like things that you may have disliked about Shadron back in the day. I feel like you might have came to kind of grow out of, or
No, some of the problems I still have are uh roughly the same. Like I don't know what Shadron stands to gain from adding a Dollar Tree when we have a dollar store. I mean, yeah, a dollar or a Dollar General,
just
and
just more $10 an hour jobs, Jim, and not what the town actually needs.
yeah, and Shadron for me falls into the case of just more of the same. I like the place. I like the culture. I bought a house here. I can't act like I don't like the place. It's great for a family. It's great for kids. It's great for a lot of things. But
Right. It's
like
wonderful for children. Wonderful
yeah,
for children.
but for people and fuck, not even just younger people, for people at my age, like I'm almost to 30 and I still find this place kind of like boring at times. I'm lucky I've been able to get out of town as much as I have recently, so I haven't really had the need
Yeah.
to bitch about it. So I
And I there needs, like, when the last time I was in town, I remember like there's just not a lot of food spots anymore. I remember the heyday, and I know we're going way off topic here, and this is more or less just a conversation for you and I, or people that live there know. Um, like I miss the days of Donald's. Like the day when there was actually food. And do you remember Donald's? Donald's was kick ass.
yeah, I went there twice.
Twice. I went there. We used to go there a bunch because Ahaha's roommate worked there.
Yeah.
So
But no, I don't know. I think it just needs more, like, you keep the spots that we have for, you've got the spots for the elderly people and stuff like that, and you got enough entertaining spots for kids, but you need something for the in between. You need something for the medium, because most of the time people like me, if I can plan it, I'm not, if I do anything epic and exciting, I'm generally not here for it. And I can't always rely on fur trade, because fur trade last year sucked. I don't know how else to put it. It was shit.
well, the saddest part is, man, is also too with with um with Helen's being gone. That puts a big hit on the town too, in terms of food, in terms of a lot of things.
Yeah, but when I stopped really drinking as much as I did, I kind of stopped going to Helen's, because in my opinion, the food was shit. I never liked the food. It was disgusting. I'm sorry. But I like going there because on Fridays you could get fish bowls for really fucking cheap. And that was just, if you wanted to get smashed really fucking quickly, that was the best way to do it. You could get one or two fish bowls for a pretty decent price, and your night was pretty much set.
Well, hold on, I'll say this in the chat.
But, I because what do we have here that's entertaining?
I guess you have bands on Bordeaux in the for a few months in the summer.
I mean, I like it until I don't,
Right. But I mean, it just, yeah, it's the thing that look, man, I think it's fun for a pit stop. It's fun to come by and go out to the bars and hang out and whatever, and leave. but unfortunately, it doesn't really create the sustainability that you want. And I do kind of feel like at this point that I feel like I've been back here too long now. I've been back here too long. We've been back here too long. And
Yeah.
it's great because look, family is nearby and everything, and that's always nice. But I think about the pros and cons and how I'd like to live and what I miss, and what I don't miss, and what collectively what we don't miss. And we have we have a list of things that we're considering. And after we go off the air, I'll tell you if you care. But we're gonna
I would
go ahead and wrap.
I would
We're
just
gonna go
tell
ahead
you to
and
I would just tell you to just DM me on Messenger after the show.
that works. That works.
Okay.
We're gonna go ahead though, unless if you have anything else you want to get at, Jimmy.
No, I think we covered all the bases.
It was a fun show tonight. We went long. We had some fun.
Yeah,
Take care, partner.
you too.